handoff. Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose. He splits the defense. 50, 40, 30. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown!
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans.
Hello there, Vikings
We love
fans.
when
You
the
are
player
listening to
scores.
the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. Adam Carlson is out there on the other end of the Bluetooth headset, which is not
I
working.
sure am.
Not working right now, but we're making
No, I'm having
do.
some problems with the video, but we're trying to figure it out
Mhm.
so we can get our beautiful faces on your computer when you listen to us on YouTube.
And then our subscriber count will probably go
Oh, it will
down.
plummet.
It'll plummet.
But I'd like to welcome everyone to episode 75 of the Purple People podcast. I have titled this one, Dude, Where's My Carlson?
Hey, I like that. We know where Carlson was this game. We finally had production out of him.
But we'll talk about him a little bit later. First, let's get into the quick hits.
Okay.
Phil Lodeholt suffered a concussion against the Dallas Cowboys. He did not play against the Redskins. Backup Jamarcus Webb played in his place against the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive tackle Kevin Murphy was promoted from the active roster to the active roster from the practice squad. Linebacker Audie Cole was waived to make room for him.
And guess who's back on the team?
And linebacker Audie Cole was signed back by the Vikings. Kevin Murphy was released.
Rick Spielman sure does love these small moves like that on a week-to-week
And Kevin
basis.
Murphy has been signed back to the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
So we went full circle there.
Yep. I'm glad to see that ultimately Audie Cole found his way back to the roster here. Hopefully it's a wake-up call for him that he's one of those players that is,
On the fringe.
on the fringe. He's a bubble player, so hopefully it lights a fire underneath him and he gets extra motivated.
Now, this one here was interesting. The American Indian Movement protested at the Vikings home game against the Washington Redskins. The organization is hoping to put pressure on the Washington Redskins organization to change their team name.
I seen one guy with one sign.
Yeah, but you didn't get there until almost the end.
Yeah, I
You
was
barely
there.
got there. You didn't even go out in the lots, did you?
I was there about 30 minutes to kick off. And no, it was, we took the light rail. I ended up right outside the front of the dome. And then they got that section where everyone was kind of tailgating just immediately right outside it.
You should have stopped by me and a bunch of other guys there in the Purple Lot 1.
Oh, we were hard pressed for time.
I even texted you. Come on, man. Come on.
But anyway, I seen one guy with one sign protesting. I don't know. Did you see any, Adam?
We got there a little bit after the demonstration,
Mm-hmm.
but we did see a couple people anyway. Enough to let people know that it was a protest. It was a demonstration and let people know what was going on. So,
Well, more power to them. What's the next topic?
Christian Ponder dislocated his left shoulder in the win against the Redskins.
Mhm.
Matt Castle finished the game. Christian Ponder is still expected to be good to go for next week's game against the Seattle Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
As Fo John Madden said on Twitter, Christian Ponder injured his non-interception throwing shoulder.
which is that's the truth. Although he had a good game this week, so we're not gonna
That's true.
we're not gonna kick him too much this week.
And my final quick hit of the week, Jerome Simpson, arrested on early Saturday morning for driving while intoxicated, has yet to be reprimanded by the team or the NFL, but something is sure to be handed down considering his problems with the law in the past.
What an idiot! We were just seeing Jerome have a decent enough season for the Vikings, to the point where I felt like you could make a case for him coming back for next season and beyond, and then he turns around and does something stupid like this. So
It's a big mistake on his part. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was an error in judgment or, I don't know what he blew as far as the blood alcohol percentage or anything like that. But I know that I have made this mistake in the past. I have learned from it. I've been sober a year and a half now. It's something that I had a problem with. And if it's something he has a problem with, I hope he gets his help and whatever he needs to get better going forward.
On the positive side of things, more playing time for Cordero Patterson if Jerome is ultimately suspended by the NFL or the team. And I think us Vikings fans can all agree we want to see more of Cordero Patterson on the field.
We want to see more of everything.
We do.
Let's get into our game ball. I went first last time. You give away your game ball first this time.
Okay, I hope I'm not taking yours, but I'm going to go ahead and give mine to John Carlson, who has been on the receiving end of a donkey awards here at the podcast. And he finally had the game I think that we've all been hoping for quite a while now. 7 receptions, 96 yards, 1 touchdown with 28 yards was his longest reception. That's some nice production from Mr. John Carlson, and it's sad that it kind of came at the expense of Kyle Rudolph being injured, but hopefully this lights a fire underneath him as well, and it proves to be a good starting point for the Vikings to build upon, to use John Carlson more. Even when Kyle Rudolph gets back, maybe we can see decent production from both of them.
I mean, a 2 tight end spot isn't going to hurt anybody, especially when you got 2 that are decent blockers like Rudolph and Carlson. When you can be a weapon in the blocking game and the passing game, that's a pretty big weapon you can have.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the past that 2 tight end sets can be successful. But my game ball does also go to John Carlson. I mean, 7 catches on 7 targets. He didn't drop a 1. Led the team with 98 receiving yards, scored that touchdown, had a great individual effort, plowing into the end zone. I really, really respected the job he did. And that's why, well, one of the reasons, I was sporting the John Carlson jersey at the game. I'll go first with my donkey.
Okay.
And my donkey award this week goes to Marvin Mitchell. Mitchell had 4 assisted tackles and no other stats. It really makes me wonder, considering his low tackle total for the year and everything else, even though he did miss out on that 1 start when the former Packer there got his start and got hurt.
Desmond Bishop?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if he's a better option than trying out a guy like Gerald Hodges over there right now. I don't see what the harm would be in giving him a try.
I would like to see more from our rookie linebackers as well, too, Adam. And I'm this pretty much the same logic as you are on that one, is that I really don't see what it would hurt at this point in the season to try a few things out like that.
Absolutely.
We've been saying for a while now that we need someone to step up and take the most of these kinds of opportunities when they are presented to them. And we've seen John Carlson do that this week when he was given an opportunity. So why not try some of our rookie linebackers? Maybe they can make the most of their opportunity when given a chance as well, too. For my donkey for the week, I don't have one because the Vikings won, and
weak.
I know, but these wins could be few and far in between for the remainder of the season. So I'm going to say enjoy it, Vikings fans, and savor it, which everyone seems to be doing a good job of. And I'm sure we will have a donkey to label next week.
Well, next week we get to see the Vikings take on the Seahawks. I'm going to go into next week's preview before we go into the review. We'll finish with the review, I think.
Okay, that sounds good.
The Vikings will be traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. This could be former Vikings player Percy Harvin's first game for the Seahawks. Now, some more interesting things is that Seattle's offensive coordinator is also a former Viking. Darrell Bevell used to be the offensive coordinator for Minnesota prior to this new guy coming in. I won't even say his name for the benefit of the people at home who are not fans of his. Many people say that Bevel is a prime candidate for being an NFL head coach next year. So who knows? Maybe he'll be back if Frazier isn't. Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be a strange turn of turn of events.
Other former Vikings on the Seattle Seahawks roster. I almost said Supersonics again. On the Seattle Seahawks roster include linebacker Heath Farwell, quarterback Tavares Jackson, and wide receiver Sidney Rice.
Who is, surprise, surprise, injured at the moment. Let's be honest. Is there any way Percy Harvin misses this game?
Yeah.
I don't see any way that he is not up and active to play against the Minnesota Vikings.
He will want to be. He will definitely want to be. But we'll have to wait and see, because from what I've been reading, there have been some setbacks, and I guess it's not really set in stone yet that he'll return, but there is some sort of irony somewhere out there that his first game as a Seahawk would be against Minnesota. There's something there that I don't know.
Oh, it'll happen. I'm pretty convinced that he'll be active. He'll be playing. Whether or not he'll be effective, I don't know. But honestly, what I would really like to see is him to be up and active, and for Cordero Patterson to have more yards receiving and maybe score a kickoff return against the Seahawks and just generally look like a better player than Percy. Wouldn't that be awesome?
A lot of Vikings fans are totally dismissing this game. They think that Minnesota has no chance against Seattle. Well, let me say one thing here real quick. If you've been watching Seattle games lately, you've realized that their offensive line is a mess. It is really bad. They've got patchwork all over, especially at the offensive tackles. And that is awesome, because that is one of Minnesota's strong suit, is attacking those offensive tackles with guys like Jared Allen and Brian Robinson.
Uh-huh.
So, Minnesota does have a shot in this game if they can keep pressure on that offense and they can move the chains on the ground, which teams have struggled to do against Seattle, but Seattle hasn't faced Adrian Peterson yet. So It's going to be one heck of a game to watch, and I'm really excited to see this one.
Yeah, and like you said, it could come down to our defensive line play, and that brings up my alternative to the game ball for this week. If I didn't go with John Carlson, I was going to go with Kevin Williams, who had 2.5 sacks against the Washington Redskins. He hasn't done that many in a game since 2009. So,
you know another interesting fact about that?
What's that?
Okay, Kevin Williams was moved to nose tackle for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Sharif Floyd played beside him at defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last multiple sack game that you just mentioned was the last game where Kevin Williams played nose tackle for the Vikings.
You mean Pat Williams?
No. So, in the last two games where Kevin Williams has played nose tackle in the defensive scheme, there have been multiple sack games for him. Just something to think about. I mean, I'm not trying to pressure the organization or nothing to say, hey, he might need to be in that role a little more often, but it's something they should take a look at.
I've heard Frazier address it in press conferences, and he has said that that is something that they're going to be looking at, because when you get that kind of production out of a player like that, especially an older veteran like Kevin Williams, you got to look at what you did and how you can continue to get that out of him. So I'm all for whatever little changes they need to do to the line to get the best, the most effectiveness out of them.
One thing we know for sure is that Carlson equals production.
We need t-shirts that say that. Just Carlson equals production.
But let's go into our game review and let's talk about the Vikings offense first.
Okay.
We saw Christian Ponder come out and have his best game of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that is a bit of a statement because he's played quite a few games, but when you go 17 for 21, you throw 2 touchdowns. He made one bad mistake on that interception throw. I don't understand what he was really trying to do there, but hey, I guess.
You got to get him out of the way early, right? If you're going to throw one, I'd rather you throw it in the first quarter as opposed to the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter and cost us the game that way. So
That's true. It's true. One thing I really loved is that Ponder passed the ball 21 times. Matt Castle passed it 6 times, so that's 27. And the Vikings rushed the ball a total of 24 times, 3 of those by quarterbacks, but still.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was the knee that Matt Castle took. But
yeah,
I
balance.
love the balance in the run and pass game.
What I was particularly fond of is just what you said, balance, and the ability to go out there and actually line up some 5 wide receiver sets out there on the field and spread the opposing defense apart a little bit and say, you're going to respect our passing game. Whether or not you want to or you think you should, we're going to make you respect it. And it's at the point where the team just needs to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be absolutely honest here. If not for the 2 times that Adrian Peterson got into the end zone, he had a pretty poor performance during that game. 20 rushes for 75 yards, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. Statistically, those are not good numbers for him. And Christian Ponder making those completions, especially like the 7 for 7 to John Carlson, which I know Ponder didn't complete all of those. I think Castle may have had 1 or 2. But still, what I'm saying is efficiency. This offense, other than the boneheaded mistake and that screen that should have been a pick 6 that I still punch myself in the face thinking about because that was disgusting. So lucky that wasn't picked. But overall, the play was efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't 70-yard touchdown bombs. No. But they moved the chains. They controlled the clock. And they really did a good job at controlling the offense.
And I feel like if they can continue to be efficient and balanced, it's going to open up for them to hit some deep passes to Greg Jennings or Jarius Wright or Cordero Patterson. It opens more things up. We've been so one-dimensional this year that it takes everything else out of the equation. Like, you can't be creative, you can't do any of the things that you want to do if you're a one-dimensional offense. And hopefully it wasn't just a fluke. Hopefully this is something they can continue to build upon as the season progresses.
Absolutely. The top targeted wide receiver was John Carlson with 7 targets. Jerome Simpson was next with 6. And then we had 4 for Greg Jennings and Cordero Patterson each. So it's nice to see Cordero getting some looks his way, even though he only caught 2 of them for 22 yards. But Patterson did score his first touchdown in the NFL.
He did, and that was
as a wide receiver.
Yeah, it was fantastic. That was right underneath the end zone that I was sitting in, too. So that was cool.
That goes with John Carlson's first touchdown as a Minnesota Viking coming over from Seattle.
Did you get Carlson down on your end?
No.
Really? I didn't remember that. Huh. Anyway, continue.
Nope, that was right in your end zone down there. The only other catches were Jarius Wright, Adrian Peterson each had 2, and Chase Ford got a catch for 2 yards. Good old
Woo-hoo!
Chase.
I like there was something interesting that I seen them do twice with Adrian. It was where they lined up, like I said, in the 5-wide set, and they actually took Adrian and they split him clear out wide. And then once, I don't know if it was a flag or something stupid happened, whatever, and then the second time they threw him, it was like a little short, I don't know what you want to call that. He didn't run a route. It was basically him take a couple steps forward, throw the ball to him, kind of whatever thing. But I like that. I really like that in concept because that gives you Adrian out in space, in theory. Right. And that's something that I really want to see them continue to do. If they can shift Adrian around in and out of a couple sets like that, that's a good wrinkle to add to this offense. And we didn't see a lot of production out of it this week, but maybe it sets up for something good in the future.
we saw more creativity from Musgrave. That's one thing that I like, is that he's opening up his little play card. Maybe there's some plays on the inside and it folds open, like origami or something.
Yeah. He knew, Adam, that we were going to be at the game. And he's like, well, shit, I better step it up and bring my A-game play calling. Otherwise, they're going to call me out on the podcast.
That's right. Let's talk about the defense for a minute. We talked about the standout, the unbelievable game that Kevin Williams had from the nose tackle position. We talked about a bit of... No, that's all we talked about was Kevin Williams.
Yeah, just Kevin Williams.
Oh, and Marvin Mitchell.
Marvin Mitchell, yep. Everson Griffin, he had 1 sack, and Jared Allen was credited with a half a sack. So those were our... Otherwise, we were getting pretty good pressure to RG3 all night.
Absolutely.
Even if it was coming a little bit after the ball was thrown, but he was on
Everson Griffin was always there chasing him, either that or it was Kevin Williams or Jared Allen or Brian Robinson. There was always someone there, which was something that was really nice to see from the defense, especially after how they had struggled against a lot of the other offensive lines in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the play from the secondary is still a little bit up in the air. There were only 2 passes defended in this game, one by Aaron Henderson, one by Mistral Raymond. I really need to see this play in the secondary step up. I mean, the Vikings used a high draft pick on Xavier Rhodes. They used a high draft pick on the injured Chris Cook. They had to activate Sean Prater for this game. The Vikings, I believe, were only playing with 46 active players this game.
Yeah,
which is one reason why they were called the extra timeouts and things like that.
That is correct. I think the secondary, like you said, we know what we want to see from it, but it's kind of at the point, it is what it is, and we just have to hope that they don't continually screw up and look really, really bad for the remainder of the season, because I don't know how you fix it this far into it.
This secondary looks really different without Harrison Smith and Chris Cook.
Yeah, man, I wish Harrison was still... It would make such a big difference just having Harrison out there on the field. It really would.
I'm going to skip back for a second and go back to the offensive side of the ball, because here's something we didn't mention. This is the first game in a long time. I think it's 26 games or... No, maybe 2 years that this is a different lineup for the offensive line for the Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
We already talked about Phil Lodeholt being out and Jamarcus Webb playing. We also saw Charlie Johnson be out and Joe Berger take his place on the offensive line. Now, I'll be honest, there were a couple times when Jamarcus Webb didn't seem really comfortable, but that's totally normal for a player in his first year with a new team, and I get that. I really want to praise Joe Berger's work because, to be honest, I didn't see him on the ground flopping around. I saw him getting blocks, making holes, and thank you, Joe Berger.
Is it safe to say Charlie Johnson will not be back with the team?
Absolutely not. You never know with this organization, man.
Very true, Adam. Very true.
But overall, we had the Vikings' leading tackler was Andrew Sendejo with 8 solo tackles and 8 assisted tackles.
Yeah, he was all over the field.
He was everywhere.
In a positive way.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's making the most of his time as a safety and a special teamer. He's a guy that is going to be one of those role players for the Vikings that will be here a long time. He'll be one of those unsung heroes that you don't hear much about.
Like I said, give a guy an opportunity and let's see him run with it. Andrew Sendejo is doing that. Given an opportunity, making the most of it.
We could very well see Harrison Smith and Andrew Sendejo being the starting safeties next year.
I'd be okay with that.
Could be interesting. Otherwise, on the defensive side of the ball, we talked about the sacks. There were no interceptions. It's kind of sad. I wanted to see some picks. I was hoping for a pick 6, but what can you do?
Well, we got to see Ponder throw one.
Not a pick 6, but almost.
Yeah.
But overall, it was what we expected from the defensive side of the ball, other than the two huge goal line stands. And those were such huge points in the game, where the first time they held the team to a field goal, and the second time they kept them out of the end zone for a score that would have tied the game and sent it to overtime.
And you could almost feel it coming at the end of the game, where it was like, here we go again. RG3 is going to lead the Redskins down the field. They're going to get a touchdown. We're going to get the ball back. We're not going to be able to do anything with it. And we're going to lose the game again. Because that's kind of been the story of the Vikings season thus far.
Yeah, been what's happened.
And I tell you what, you rewatch that replay, and Santana Moss was about 1 foot away from coming down with that pass.
All right, let's talk about that play for a second.
In the end zone, but
why run a fade to Santana Moss? He's the smallest wide receiver they have. He was matched up against a corner that was taller than him. I mean, I understand that he was probably pressured and had to get rid of the ball, and that was one of his options, so he just let it loose. But still, I don't know, there had to have been a better play call in that situation. Even the play on the other side of the ball where Reed caught the touchdown right across the middle when Chad Greenway was in coverage on him. Which, by the way, Greenway, I love Greenway, I do. But he's got to step up his coverage. That was pretty bad.
For as close as they were on that final play, I was honestly expecting Washington to run some kind of read option where RG3 would possibly, run with it in for the score.
I expected a straight quarterback draw.
Yeah.
Because that RG3 is a very elusive guy. The fact that this Vikings defensive line got their hands on him as often as they did is amazing.
Yeah. I believe it was more than a little bit of luck with the fact that our defense was able to hold out there and keep him out of the end zone. But
there were some passes that hit off those wide receivers' hands that could have been catches.
We'll take what we can get, and we're going to count it as a defensive stop, right?
It was a goal line stand. It may not have been pretty, but it was a stand.
Yep.
Special teams, we seen
him kicking the ball away from Cordero Patterson. I thought that was interesting, is that Washington did everything in their power to not kick the ball to him.
Well, what do you expect when you got the guy who's leading the NFL in kick return yards and kick return touchdowns?
Well, precisely. I mean, I agree with. I would try to kick it away from him too, but that tells you the kind of caliber player that Patterson is currently on special teams.
And he can only get better from here. I mean, the more contributing he can do on offense, the more contributing he can do on special teams. I admit I was skeptical when the Vikings traded up to get him, but man, I am really impressed by what I've been seeing from him.
I heard that he kept his football from when he scored the touchdown, and then he had Adrian Peterson autograph it.
Nice.
How cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Blair Walsh, perfect on the day.
2
nice field goals, 1 from 40 yards, 4 for 4 on extra points. Can't ask for much better than that. Jeff Locke only had to punt once.
I like
Unbelievable. That. Got 50 yards on that punt. That's pretty sweet.
Clue you could have done better.
No. Come on. Overall, it was awesome to see the Vikings get a game on prime time, be able to come out with a win. The halftime ceremony with Chris Carter was unbelievably awesome. I enjoyed every minute of that. If you haven't seen it, go on Vikings.com, and they've got the full ceremony there. You can watch it.
Yeah, I figured before we sign off on the show, Adam, is that, like we told everyone last week, it was the first game that either you or I had attended for the Vikings. So maybe we could take a couple minutes and just kind of talk about our personal highlights of the game, what we thought of the Dome, stuff like that, to kind of wrap the show up here.
All right, well, I took the light rail in I met up with my friend Clint Fredrickson. He's a big fan of the podcast. I met him in the Real Deal Viking Den. I play video games with him all the time. Awesome dude. Can't ask for much better. But it was nice to be able to meet one friend and then go completely to Purple Lot 1, just wander around the lots, meeting people. I got my picture with Sid Davey.
Sid's
Sid
awesome.
Davey,
Yeah.
definitely who Sid Davey is.
If you don't know him by name, if you're a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, you know him based on what he looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
After walking around the lot for a while and meeting some folks, we headed in. I gotta say, once I got inside the stadium, it wasn't as fantastic as I thought it was going to be in there. But once I got down to my seats, which we had third row seats, so we were pretty much right there on the field. Everything was just so nice.
Hmm.
It brought Minnesota nice to another level. All the people sitting around me were really cool, really nice about the whole thing. The game was an unbelievable game to attend for my first NFL game. For a game to be that close and that competitive, I will want to go back as soon as possible because I had such a great experience and I had so much fun at this game. But I might have to wait until the new stadium goes up because I'm glad I got to see one in this stadium before it goes down, but I'm excited to see what the new one's going to be like.
Yeah, definitely. I had a bit of a different experience going up than Adam, just based on the fact that I had to work until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it literally, the guys I went with, which, gotta give a shout out, I forgot I was gonna do this earlier, but this is my shout out to you, Brennan. You owe me $2 for doing this, so I expect my $2 for giving you a shout out. But I drove up with some friends, and it was literally, I changed at work in the bathroom into my Vikings gear. Get in the car and drive to Minnesota. We ate at a gas station, like halfway up there, just stopped at a gas station in Minnesota. Continued the trip. We ended up parking at the Mall of America, and then we took the light rail to the Metrodome. But like I said, by the time we got to the dome itself, it was roughly 30 minutes to kick off. And then Paul had to go, actually he had to pick our tickets up. They were off-site. He got them through StubHub, I believe. And then, Adam, you were much closer to the field than I was. I was in section 202, row 15, seat 30, which is over top of the north end zone.
But let's be honest, there isn't a bad seat in that house.
There's not. And even though I was up quite a ways, I could still see exactly what was going on. When they got to the other end, the other side of the field, it was a little bit tougher to tell what was going on, but my friend Mike had a pair of binoculars, and the zoom on my camera, you could figure out what was going on. Otherwise, same experience that you had with just the people around us, Vikings fans. I really do believe we are the best in the nation in terms of just being nice and friendly, and I was talking to everyone that was around us, and everyone was super into the game, and even though, we were rushing to get to our seats and going upstairs and shit before the game, everyone was polite, even though people were running people over because it's crowded inside the Metrodome. The actual dome itself was crappy, although it wasn't as crappy as what I thought it was going to be, but it reminded me of my old high school gym. It's just,
I'll be absolutely honest, I didn't go to the bathroom at the Dome.
No, neither did I. I was actually kind of looking forward to seeing the bathrooms.
So I didn't get to see the legendary troughs that I heard about.
I've heard a lot about the Metrodome bathrooms, but I never actually went in and seen them.
I kind of avoided them. I was a little scared, I'll be honest.
It reminded me, seriously, of my old high school gym. Just the old barren friggin' concrete walls that it had running around it, like, I don't know, and the cheap plastic seats that you sit in were quite
See, I didn't
amusing.
get that experience either. I didn't get the cheap plastic seats. I had nicer seats.
I was in the cheap plastic seats that reminded me of like an elementary school field. And I thought I'm getting a little off topic here, but the score we have the most worthless scoreboards, and I think the entire NFL, the jumbotrons. The one on one end of the field is like the size of my TV set that I have downstairs. You couldn't even see it. And then the one that was behind me was decent enough sized, but you had to turn completely around to see it, and neither of them are in a spot that really does anyone any good. So yeah, it's good. It's fun that I got to be up there for one game in the Metrodome, but I'm looking forward to seeing a new stadium from the Vikings.
Now, when I went to the game, I also brought with me something that I knew was going to make a lot of Vikings fans not happy. I brought with me a Washington Redskins fan. And not just any Washington Redskins fan, a somewhat obnoxious and drunk Redskins fan. And I've got to admit that despite his obnoxiousness and drunkenness, he was just being playful, which is what he does.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't interpret it that way. But the fans in Minnesota, all the people sitting around us, handled it very well. Even though he had to talk a lot of smack, especially when he had to walk out with his head down. I gotta say that might have been the moment that he started being a lot nicer. But overall, my experience and my friend's experience at the Dome was amazing. And if you haven't been to a Vikings game in Minnesota, there's really no experience like it.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd involvement, the noise, especially the noise. It's constantly everything. I lost my voice during that game. I was singing so much and just yelling, especially on third downs and goal line situations. I lost my voice.
The halftime stuff with Chris Carter was just amazing, and rightfully so. That was probably the loudest part of the game, is when Chris got a standing ovation by the fans. And so well deserved and so cool.
Oh, yes.
So cool to actually be there for when he got his ring and to hear him talk and to see all the other. There was quite a few Vikings legends were on hand for that. I know Chuck Foreman was there.
Yep.
Jake Reed, I seen him.
He was standing right next to us, actually.
Was he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't remember offhand who else was there, but there was a good.
Dion stood next to us for a little while.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the NFL a lot of the NFL Network crew was there. Mooch and a bunch of other guys. Just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have for this week. Do you got anything else that you'd like to add?
There was something. I was gonna say something about Chris Carter and then something else, but I forgot what the something else was. So we're just gonna go ahead and call it a show.
Sounds good. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and thank you for visiting the Facebook and Twitter page. We really appreciate all the conversations and look forward to having many more with you guys, and thanks again. Stay classy, Minnesota.